Most of you by now know that I work at VIP Mortgage. A lot of you may not know why or how I got there. For us as LOs, we have a lot of options, and for me, VIP Mortgage was the perfect fit and the best place, in my opinion, to work. So if you have any questions about VIP Mortgage as an LO, or if you are a consumer and you're looking for a mortgage, you can reach out to me on social media, or you can reach out to anybody else that you may know at VIP Mortgage. And our website is vipmtginc.com. Our next guest is a fellow podcaster, a financial advisor, and a marketing guru. We had him on today to talk a lot about his marketing background and how it's helped drive his business and his client journey. He's a big fan of John Ruhlin and Giftology and the client experience, so to speak. So please welcome Andrew Rafal from Bayntree Wealth Advisors. Welcome everybody to Real Talk with Ryan Madrid. We have, we have my sister over here helping with the production of social media. And we have Dylan. He's my adopted nephew at this point. And he's over there doing the post-production work for us. So thanks, guys. Today we have a special guest. He is, I think, probably the second guest we've had that's actually has his own podcast as well. So it's good because it's, it gives me an opportunity to maybe go and get on yours as well.
We'll see how today's show goes.
Thanks. Well, that was the whole point. No, I'm just kidding. So anyways, I have Andrew Rafal here with Bayntree Wealth Advisors. And Andrew's office is over off McDonald and Scottsdale Road, correct?
Indian Bend,
Scottsdale Road. Just moved in?
Just moved in about 3 weeks ago. Right across from the train park.
Right
there,
across.
Ruth Chris, Wildflower.
Great building, all redone.
We'd like to thank the great Amr, who,
Amr.
The Everwest really took it up a notch. So we took a shell and, we saw the vision of what it could be. And the last 6 months just working with them and a company called PDO. And it's a beautiful spot now.
It is. I mean, that was one of those places over there that was always kind of weird because it's in an incredible area of town. But for some reason, it wasn't like super fixed up, even though the opportunity was like incredible as far as location wise. So now it's like where it should be. It's super nice, really high end. Yeah.
Yeah. I think just the money that they're putting into it and the lobby and just even the smell that they have, it's like a hotel smell, like little things like that are going to go a long way. So we're stoked and, having the staff excited and feeling proud coming to work, when you see the big Bayntree sign up there, which, we'll get into kind of the creation of the company itself, but it's just cool. It's a cool feeling to know that, they are excited and happy employees mean productivity, which is always
I think it's good to change it up a little bit. We were talking yesterday with, we have our office in Tempe and they're moving out of their space and they actually owned it. Then they sold it like maybe 2 years ago. And now the landlord, so to speak, now wants to raise the rent a little bit, but they're just like, so they went and looked at some stuff, Kurt Kramer's deal down in the Alexander out in Chandler, few other spots. And they're like, dude, we just need like a whole nother vibe. Like it's just the energy level needs to change. Like we want our staff to be excited and same sort of thing. So it's just, every so often it's good to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, we with the AV, I think I went a little overboard. Ended up, I think I got like 18 Sonos in there now. It's like 4 zones. And then I started, once we started turning this thing on, I'm like, what did, and I looked at the bill and I'm like, oh, that's what happened there. But so, after today's show, we'll go over there. We can have a little dance party.
Nice. He's got a little nice little podcast room that's getting developed as well. So that'll be good. So let's talk a little bit because some people know you. A lot of people on this that probably going to listen to this do know you. So we know each other from EC70. Yep. You're a financial advisor. I get your legacy SAY money, by the way, which is good.
You're welcome. And you'll be taking me out to dinner.
Yeah. Supporting Arizona youth. So let's back up. So when you came from Cleveland, right?
Came from Cleveland. I was in Chicago a couple years right after school. and moved out here 2001.
Okay.
You know, it was like Chicago tech boom, was working in the tech space, bust. Company got bought, sold, and it was time. At that point, I had to make a decision. Do I stay in Chicago, which I love, but winters were just brutal. No sunshine, almost like too many friends there too. So me and a girlfriend at the time, she got a job out here, and I said, I'm in. So I remember that I went back to Cleveland to get some stuff together. It was like St. Patty's weekend. So I spent my last St. Patty's in Cleveland and, you know, did it up, still living back then, like 24, 25. Right. So liver was a lot different back then, but, you know, came out here and, you know, just didn't know anybody really. Found a job in a company called International Crossing, which is now a big global digital company called iCrossing. So I was back there in the day, there was like 10 of us. Mm-hmm. This was before, like, you probably remember Alta Vista was still.
Oh yeah. Lycos.
Google was just trying to, like, we didn't even know what Google was, but we were selling this dream of search engine positioning. Yeah. And it was hard calling people, you know, it was all on the phone and people were like, I don't even have a website. I don't even understand. You're trying to sell me on this stuff. So it was old school. You know, we'd wait for the fax machine and there'd be a deal and, you know, hit the gong. It was an interesting space.
Definitely like sweatshop stuff. So do a lot of guys from Cleveland move to Chicago? Is that how it works?
You know, I went
guys and girls, sorry.
It's easy, you know, pop over there. You know, I went to Miami, Ohio, so I had a lot of college friends that moved there. It's one of, you know, I think Chicago's one of the better cities.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially summertime, you know, so it's a good place when you're right out of school. Good food, good opportunities.
Delta Chi fraternity was founded in Miami of Ohio.
There you go, Delta Chi. It's the, I think Phi Delta too, a bunch
really?
Of, yeah.
That looks like a cool school to go to though, as far as like just like the old world, you know, look of it all, but it's still in. Where's it at exactly?
I don't even know. Let me think. No, it's
I'll look it up right now.
It's in Oxford, Ohio. So it's about 45 minutes outside of Cincinnati. You drive 2 hours from Columbus.
Why'd you go there?
You know, it was Ohio State. It was easy choice to go there. Back then, Miami, Ohio was a pretty tough school to get into, so I didn't even know if I'd get into it. I was thinking University of Florida, some other schools, and it was kind of just the easy decision. Yeah. Before I busted up my shoulder, I was thinking of like Division II football. So having the shoulder situation, it kind of forced me to get out of that, which was great. In Miami was for 4 years. It's kind of the epitome of this college campus in the middle of cornfields. You get in there, brick buildings, you know, 16,000, 17,000 kids.
Yeah. A little NAU-ish maybe?
A little bit, yeah.
Smaller.
And just fun, good times. You know, it was, you worked hard, but you had a lot of good times.
So you came out here and then you worked for iCrossing, and then so there's a lot of guys that we know that from Cleveland though, that I thought you guys were all like boys, or did you guys all meet out here? Like Turbo and
Cleveland Mafia. So,
exactly.
So Turbo and David Baum and Cronenberg, a plethora of others. Creighton's from the Clevelandish area, you know, like Canton. So
that's right.
Cradle of football there.
Kotler.
So all of these are all grew up in the same town, most of them. Okay. Turbo and Baum, a couple of years younger than me. So I was, I think, 2 years ahead of them. So we all knew each other. Small school that we all went to. Kotler a few years younger, but so we kind of crossed paths, but not until, you know, I moved out here in several years, you know, probably about 2009 or 10 is when we all started running together. But those guys have been tight, and you know, they kind of one moved here, and then the other moved here, and it's unique having that camaraderie because you know, you got the Midwest feel. We all still look, you know, diehard Browns fans, and just, you know, your Cleveland boys have your back,
right?
You know, I still have a couple of friends that don't live here, but you know, you can count on your people, you know, that will have you no matter what.
So what happened then? So you left iCrossing. When did you decide that you're going to get in the financial advising space? Like, how'd that happen?
So I fell into it back 2003 or so. You know, it's kind of like, even though if I stayed at iCrossing probably would have been a good thing, but it just didn't feel right. And decided to make a change. And I started working for this insurance firm, you know, a little bit of estate planning as well. So a friend of mine got me into it. And right away, and it just felt right. Like I'm dealing with individuals, you know, 50 and 60, listening to their story, being able to help shape as much as I could at that time, you know, building out for them what can help them, you know, reach these.
How old were you at this point?
26, 27.
So did you find that, am I close enough to the mic? Okay.
Yep.
Did you find that being that young, but you probably looked really young too because you still look young, that
Thank you, Ryan.
you got 50 and 60-year-old guys, they're entrusting you with their like in their insurance and their money and their life. Like,
yeah, so
that's
definitely
a tough sell.
It was a challenge, and that was where I kind of poured myself into, because of that fact, like no one, like just learning everything I could, right? Not from Miami, Ohio, I was studied marketing, finance, and acting, so I had a little bit, but it's not like I went to the Wall Street and I didn't have this training, right?
Yeah.
So it was trying to learn everything I could and presenting on that education side, but it was definitely a challenge. And one thing that this company did, which was kind of that hard knocks again, is they would set us up. This was back, my first year or so with them, and they'd have a phone room that would set up appointments for us. And it was mainly out there in the field, right? So this is back when, you had flip phones, but you didn't have Google Maps.
Right. Yeah.
So I had this like McNally, like I had like that big old thing, and some of the people were like, "What are you talking about?" But like I'd have an appointment, and I'd be out in Surprise, and
you don't know anything about like anything but Scottsdale at this point.
Yeah, and it was like, so it was interesting to learn about I was able to learn about Phoenix but I then now have to be in Mesa like an hour later, and both of them no-showed me. It was like, so you have these days where you're just like, what am I doing? But the fact that young, having to, I don't think you can do this now, going to somebody's house, not pre-COVID, whatever, but like you can't do that today's world. But going in there and having to like knock, 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 who is this? And building that and getting them to, understand who you are and trust you, and then decide to move forward. So it was power course of building these relationships, right? And so did that, but I, even though that part of it wasn't fun, it was still, you kind of knew that this is where I was destined. It was like I was able to bring kind of a multifaceted approach to what I could help them do. It wasn't like selling them stuff. It was more so building the relationship. So I like that side of it, right? Yeah. Listening, it's almost like you're a therapist.
Right.
It's probably like why you like the podcast side. You know, you get to ask questions, dig in,
For sure. No, it's true.
So then about 6 years into that, I basically stayed there for about 6-7 years and helped grow this company, built, made somebody a lot of money. And at some point I knew I needed to go do this on my own.
Yeah.
So this was like around 2010, and me and my ex-partner at the time that had worked with me since like 2003, we said, let's do it. And we were able to negotiate where we took 100 of our clients each, because the management didn't really understand that we had relationships, and that they're like, oh, we probably got everything out of it. Good, take them. So I still remember this day, like, and I don't think they knew that we were actually partnering together, but I remember walking out with my files, and I knew that was going to be my lifeline to start this thing. But it's 2010. I've got probably like a 3-year-old, and you just didn't even think about it. I'm like, I know this is going to work. Now that I think about it, I'm like, shit, I had this mortgage, all the, like, what was I doing? But you just make it, in your mind, you're like, I'm going to make this thing happen.
Right.
So it was a good stepping stone. And then what I realized is I needed to be able to provide a brand. I wanted to build a brand, and I wanted to be able to provide to clients all these things that I wasn't able to do there. It was more like a one-stop versus now what the dream was, let's build a comprehensive planning firm. And
so are you a financial planner? Or
so we're
it's a designation, right?
Yeah, we're investment advisor.
Okay.
I've got CFPs on staff. So we are what's called a registered investment advisory firm. So what that means is that we're under a fiduciary standard, but basically we do planning, we do investment management, we help clients basically quarterback it all, right? Bring it all together. So whether, somebody's 45, they're a business owner, they're running and gunning, it's like, okay, let's help get your personal and your business get it in tune, get it aligned, help take things off your plate. So like estate planning, making sure the insurance is set up right now with taxes. Taxes are going to be a big thing. So like if we can help save them on taxes by putting money X, Y, and Z, those are the type of things.
You have an accountant on staff, a planner on staff, or do you just like network that out?
So CPAs we network out.
Okay.
So we have a lot of good relationships with them. Because we take a different approach, we actually get referrals from CPAs, which in our industry that's like a very, very rare thing. There's 11 of us right now. There's just hired another advisor, so there's 6 advisors. Then we got support staff. We've got marketing. That's one thing we'll touch on later. But like we're a financial services firm, but I'm a big believer in marketing.
Yeah.
And you got to market. In our industry, a lot of people don't market, and that's some of the things that we've done over the years to help separate us and to help position us. Where it's a smaller firm, we got to compete against the bigger players.
Yeah.
And so you got to build a niche. You got to build. From us, we want them to see we're not just a stodgy firm. That we've got younger people, but we're like individuals, right? And trying to build that out.
So let's go back to you guys leave the other company and your partner, and then now you're starting this new deal. Took 100 clients over. You had to find space, phones, computers, all that. Just the P&L side of things. Like, how difficult was that process, and like how quickly did you guys get up and running? And let's talk about like the bad shit.
Yeah.
Like how, because I know it wasn't all like rainbows and puppy dogs.
No, this is 2010. So like the the depths of the recession was still affecting, especially in your market. You guys didn't really feel it till like 10, 11, 12, right? So the positive of that was like in 2010, we were able to leverage that and get a really good lease. So we 3,200 building, 32 Camelback, 3,200. So we were able to get in there. But yeah, it was like, what are we doing? We've never done this before. Fortunately, it wasn't just me. So I had this other partner and we brought some other people. So like it was like kind of hands on deck. But we had to go like, like furniture. Wow, that's 50 grand.
Seriously, right?
What is that? Like,
that's the one thing that I hear all the time lately is nobody knows how expensive office furniture is until you go to buy it.
And it's like different line items. And you can't figure out anything how it works until you get the bill, and you're just like, and it's always like 50 to 80 grand.
Yeah.
So we're kind of stumbling around on that, and phone systems. It's like, what do we use? So now we have to get a server. Now we have like box and the whole thing, but it's like all these little things. It's like, wow, you didn't think about each and every piece of it. So, I still remember when we opened up, we didn't have our furniture yet. Usually with furniture, it usually is late, right? So we had like these poker tables, and we're bringing clients in. They're like, it's a nice building here, but
right.
What is going on? You've got poker tables, you've got no phones working. So at that point, you just like put your head down, and you're just like, we got to make this thing happen. And again, it comes to the fact that I think I had the relationships with these clients, because if I'm like, a lot of these advisors, right, they leave these firms and they can't bring the clients, right? Because then there's lawsuits and things like that. So if I had to start it from scratch, there's no way, and that was 2010. It's even harder to do that now, because it's like, I'm 30, we've got this new firm, who are they? And I'm trying to do a workshop, or I'm doing this or that. And they're like, no way. So having that core baseline was the one thing that saved us. But
well, like the relationship side of things, I think is a great point to make. It's like, you're 30, you're dealing with probably more like 60-year-olds, right? And they're probably, I'm just assuming this stuff, obviously, but like, I think that if I was looking down at like a 20-year-old trying to do stuff right now, and then I saw them just like putting themselves out there, and they're like doing scratching and clawing, trying to make it all work, I would have respect for them. I'd be like, dude, I like this. Because you have a relationship with those people already. They probably came back and they saw the poker table. I was like, they're going and they're doing it. Like they're trying, they're hustling.
I think so. I think a lot of them looked at me as like their son in the, and
same.
some of them have been with me. Like, so if, let's say, I have some clients been with me since 05. So they've seen this evolution of it, and even like moving then to from growing strategy. So the company was Strategy Financial Group, and it's still around, doing great, and still really good friends with my ex-partner. So they've been able to see me grow and evolve, and they feel they're proud of it,
Yeah.
And I think you're dead on, so they trusted me, and they came to that office because they knew we were going to keep doing good work for them. The key though was like the team, right? So that was one thing I learned as a business owner, is that if you don't have the right team, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're dead in the water. And it took a while to get to where we are today, but just trying to like, now all of a sudden I'm a good advisor, but now I got to become a business owner or business
and
person,
a manager, right? And HR,
right? And handle tech and like marketing. So all of a sudden, if you don't have that right team that you can designate things to, or know how to designate, so like you're just learning on the go. We call it like the accidental business owner. Right. That's a lot of times in our industry. It's like we're all of a sudden 10 people, like 11 people. So it was a little bit of like, you just put your head down and you just knew you couldn't, I wasn't going to fail. Right. Yeah. You know, I think if I look back now, you know, I'd probably be like, what was I thinking? But, you know, just like any entrepreneur, you just have that vision of what you want it to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, you just grind it out.
So let's discuss a little bit about the people then. So you have your team, right? So, so you're with Strategy, right? That was you and your partner. That was the company you guys created. And then eventually you left him and started Bain.
Correct.
Did I say that?
Bayntree.
Bayntree. I'm like, that's a person in Superman. Or
Bain is, is it Batman?
Bain is, yeah.
Maybe, no?
Somebody help us here?
Anybody?
He's like, I have no idea.
Yeah, so
Tom Hardy played him, though. I know that much.
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong comment. I'm not a comment.
Yeah, that was Bain.
That was Bain. There we go. Bayntree. So you started Bayntree. So anyways, getting back to the team and having the right people, did you have trouble with like managing like what they were doing day to day? Did you have a lot of turnover?
At Strategy, I kind of let part of the benefit there is I had my ex-partner,
that was
Calvin,
his side.
He was better at that, or I just didn't like, hey, go do it. So I was able to just like focus on my stuff, right? So I didn't have to wear all those hats. With that also then that brings challenges, right? Because then maybe it's not going the way that I want. There's a third partner involved, and at the end of the day, what happened was they were partners in life. So even though we were running in a sense like a law firm, our own business with we shared some employees,
right?
It was still one that I kind of foresaw that there was going to be problems, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I always wanted to build something on my own. So part of the benefit, and it took about a year, but because I owned, in a sense, my own clients, it wasn't like a divorce, like who gets the Smiths, who gets the Madrid. It's like, it was still pretty tough, right? To break up and do these things, especially in our space. It's so like compliance wise and things of that nature. But it was like, it just made sense. So I was about 5 years in there, and I knew this thing was going to go down the wrong, track based on that. And so what I wanted to do is build something that I could fully control. And that would mean I'd have to step in and start doing things that I didn't want to do, right? And at that point, I didn't really have the full team that could make it work. I didn't, I didn't know what I didn't know at that point. Right. But like Bayntree, for instest, a lot of people are like, what is that? And if you go to our office, you see
That's my next question.
Bayntree. That's because I'm a podcaster. I'm already thinking in my head.
Hey, so tell us about Bayntree. Well, how did you come up with the name?
So, when we think of a name, you in any space, but you want a name that's like powerful. And for me, I wanted to build a name that like nobody knew, kind of like even Nike, right? Like that didn't exist. And all of a sudden it's a thing. So back to Cleveland, back to my roots. So there's a street real close to mine. I can't say I lived on it, but I was like right next to it, called Bayntree, right? It was Baintre. I'm like, let's do it. Bayntree Wealth Advisors. So we did that. We started building out all the marketing. And I was like, I'm going to do this right. We're going to trademark it, the whole thing. And so get all the marketing in, spend all this money. And I get this letter, like before we fully launched, from Bain Capital, Romney's company, and it's looking it's like 6 attorneys on this thing. And they're like, you're in breach, right? We're cease and desist. You can't use the name, yada, yada, yada. Now, at that point, I had a decision to make, right? It's like, okay, do I want to fight these guys? It's like Bayntree. There's all these Bains out there. It's like, that's a street that there it is. But what's 2 years? What if I win? What if I lose? So it's one thing if I was like 7 years in and they come after me and it's like everybody knows it's BA. So what I did, sat one and I had like a glass board like that. And I just started thinking, and I was actually on the phone with my dad, and we brainstormed. He goes, why don't you change the I to a Y? And so I get up there and I write it, and I'm like, that's
looks better anyways.
That looks amazing, right?
Yeah.
So we go back to Bain. We're like, this is what we're doing. And I call, and my trademark attorney was helping me through all this. I go, why don't we ask him for some money? She's like, what? You're not going to, they're coming after you. I go, well, look at all this like headache, and I got to go spend another 20 grand on marketing. So they gave me a call. I mean, it was like just a win, but like it all worked out. They gave me a couple of $1,000, and it couldn't have been better, because now there is no like Bayntree, Bayn. There is nothing else out there like that. Right. So it's got that name to it. We've got the nice tree. And for me, it's always got that connotation back to Cleveland. And now we're building this brand. And then we created a tagline, you dream, we plan. All this stuff is trademarked. So, that type of thing. Like when I make that right on Indian Bend now, and I see Bayntree on that building, it's something that awesome. Makes me smile every time.
Did you hire a company to help you with like your message, your vision, and all that stuff? Like
so I've had
dream, we plan.
So a lot of that came like just marketing background.
Okay.
Like I had, I mean, that kind of stuff comes to me. So I had some great marketing people internally that worked with me. Got a great web designer that's from Cleveland that I work with religiously. Cause we looked at, coming from that iCrossing space, like years ago, I'm like, okay, digital is going to be the thing that sets us apart. So with digital marketing, it's one that it's a long game. But like what we looked at on that is, having the tagline and then being able to present out who we are and create the website. So it's very like it's user friendly. And then the other thing was like the content, right? Content's king, like the podcast. I looked at 2017. I used to do this radio show back in like 12. It was some BS show, on Saturdays and Sundays. And I'd spend all this money in 30 minutes and then it's gone. Right, it's in the ether, and no matter how good you and I could have had the best show,
right?
And we had some people listening to it,
right?
But where it's gone now. So podcasting,
AM radio, or
it was AM radio. It was like maybe
KFNN or whatever.
Yeah, one of those where you'd pay to play.
1510, yeah.
You'd go in there and you'd shoot it. We'd actually wasn't doing it. We never did them live. We did them like Thursdays, and then it would play, and then you'd have a call to action. They'd call in, and you'd actually you'd get leads. But like then it's there's nowhere that it lives.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing with podcasting I looked at years ago. It's like I like this medium. I listen to it. Mm-hmm. I can now bring on guests that I can learn from, and let's build a whole show around it. And then it lives forever. And then it ultimately that helps on search engine positioning and things like that.
Yeah. No, for sure. He is a competitor of yours, but a friend of mine. I mean, not really a competitor. It's the same thing. Yeah. But he was in sports radio here forever. And then he became a financial advisor right around the same time I got in the mortgage business, probably 8 years now. And he still does a radio show like every morning on, I think, 1510. And it's like, that's like his deal. Like that's his marketing. He's been doing it for 30 years now, like as far as like something, but he was pretty big name for local sports radio. And, he says, it's the greatest thing for him because a lot of people still, they're like, we knew you from sports. Now you're over here. Great.
And they have that, I think with radio and in podcasting is they have that comfort level, right?
Yeah.
With podcasting, like the ones you listen to or your people that listen to yours, they get to know you more than they knew you at all. So there's that comfort level where like in your industry, right, they're getting, I'm sure you do this because you enjoy it, but it's also great marketing for you. Totally. So now if I've got all these people to go to with the loan, I'm going to go to which team do I go to? Well, I kind of like this Madrid guy. He seems to bring, he's good dude, brings value. And so that's the type of thing with the radio too. It's like they get to know, or just like TV, right? They get to know. And obviously with him knowing that background and having the voice.
I think the video side is a huge part of it for me. It separates it so much for me because I listen to even like famous people that have their shows that are super popular. I lose completely like interest. But if I'm watching like ones, I get, because to me it's like I pay attention to more of like their actions just as much as I do what they're saying. So for I think that, it's great that you're moving into that realm, obviously, because you're more radio now or more just audio. But I think it's super important. But I was going to just say something to Trish because it's like she kind of relaunched this for me, or we did together, but like it was kind of her idea to bring it back, and because I just didn't know how to do it, like where to go. Like you were saying, like you have to hire people and you have to figure out who can do the post-production, or do you go to a company that costs a ton of money? But it's so much more than just this, right? Then you got the social media side of things. You kind of have to keep it going. And then you have the, like we don't get into the SEO things, but we're going to start, right? But we're just trying to get this thing to a place where it matters enough so we can start gaining that traction. But you got to get people to follow YouTube. So you have to have, like you said, call to actions of some sort, because it's not great just to have it post on iTunes.
Yeah.
Like you have to have people go on YouTube and liking and subscribing. You got to know the Instagram, and if you have followers, you got to go to Facebook and LinkedIn, and it's just a whole thing. So I see people that like just do this as a living, and you're like, well, you could just do this as like is that much work if you really did this every day? It'd be freaking tons and tons of work, but it definitely can bring money and value. And so for me, I don't know anybody else in my industry that does this here in Arizona, like on a regular basis. So it's kind of like I'm hoping that it works, but it has worked so far, right?
Well, how do you know?
Because we've had people reach out that I've been trying to get, for years as our like a partner to send us deals, like agents or advisors, attorneys, whoever, that all of a sudden are just reaching out.
Yeah.
And then you get comments like, hey, I saw your thing. Or I got people that like reach out of, somewhere that I don't even know. They want to be on the show. And then you're like at that point where like you have to evaluate what are they calling you for, right? Do they want to build their business on it. And so for us, it's like we're particular in who we bring, right? Because we want to have people that have like cool stories and they can at least teach something to the people that we're doing it to. But I also like having people that I'm close with on it, right? It makes it easier for me personally. We can have a conversation just like this and let it flow than as opposed to people we don't. But we also want to focus on the community. We want to focus on entrepreneurs. We want to focus on all different businesses. I don't care if it's music or a freaking surfer, right? It's like that's the approach because, sorry, I'm getting long-winded here, but I think that people are attracted to people that are doing stuff.
May I pipe in for just a second? Not only everything Ryan said is absolutely true, because I get people who know I'm his sister or that I work on the show or whatever, that out of the blue, they're like, hey, I just listened to such and such episode. So that's awesome. But one of the things that I have found to be super powerful is the development of an actual brand. So we've got VIP Mortgage, which has very strong brand, right? The Crawford team as well. But Ryan is kind of morphed into his own brand. I mean, the podcast, certainly that I've been working really hard to get that. But I think organically for him personally, he's turned into much more than just a person. He's this larger than life kind of thing here locally, right? So there is a law of attraction thing, I think, going on, and people want to be a part of it. I mean, even if they're not going to come on as a guest, they're commenting, they're supporting us. And I think the awareness.
And they're giving a shit too.
Yeah. Like they actually seem to care. It's not just this false, like vapid kind of conversation. They're actually authentically
Every single
interested.
time I see Andy Markham, shout out to Hammy. Oh, real talk with Ryan Madrid. Hey, are you doing a podcast? But deep down, right, it's like, it's just love, right? But you do get the people giving you shit, and then the backside,
he had a lot of haters in the beginning,
like, right?
Yeah, you put yourself out there, And
vulnerability is attractive,
and he's good on you are good on camera, so you kind of have that confidence to you, and you can ground your guest, especially if somebody who may be a little nervous. You've got to be able to read that, but that's important, and so it is building the brand, and it's almost like persuading before they start working with you.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, going back when I asked you the question, like somebody asked that to me, we don't know what the return on investment is. What's the ROI of the podcast? I don't know. I know that it's one piece because they're going to come, if they hear about Bayntree, they hear about me, they're going to go to our website. Yeah. They're going to maybe read one of our original blogs. They're going to see our YouTube. They're going to see I wrote a book. They're going to see all those different things, right? And so ultimately all of them, maybe only listen like 3 minutes of the podcast, but they're going to be like, he's got 60 episodes and he's got these guests on.
Yeah.
Well, I think that he may know, and his firm may know what they're doing, right? So they're getting to know you before they even come to actually sit in your office. And by the time they get there, if you do all these other things right, like what you're doing, then your job's done.
I feel like you're so right when I get the question, what's the ROI? Like I get that exact question, and I kind of feel like I don't know the numbers exactly because we don't know. Because when they go to do a loan, there's not a drop down arrow box that says, how'd you find out about us? Google, Facebook, Instagram, or the podcast? Right. We don't have that. Maybe one day we will though. But it's like you're going to buy a t-shirt on Instagram, they're going to ask you where the hell or online, they're going to ask you where you came from. But it's hard to measure, but I do know for a fact that I've had enough conversations where people just have sent deals over just because they just reminded them. Maybe it was just that. Maybe they just saw like a picture of the podcast on social media and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot Ryan does loans.
Ryan's the ROR, which is hard to quantify. I think that's really what
that mean?
The return on
relationships.
Oh wow,
yeah.
Look at you two.
Look it up.
Is that a Deepak Chopra book?
And there's a gentleman, John Rulin, who wrote a book called Giftology.
Dude, that's what we live by, Giftology.
So he was actually just spoke to us at an EO event, Entrepreneurs Organization. It's the second time I've seen him, but he talked a lot about the return on relationships, right?
Yeah.
And so that goes into a whole different genre there, but
Yeah, he's great.
it's so good. You know,
Dude,
it's like those gifts,
yeah.
like instead of, I don't want a VIP hat. I don't want to, I want something like,
You know how much I talk about this guy? And I give books because we used him here because Max Hansen knew him from YPO. And this is like 6 years ago. And when I found out about him, I called him to do some recruiting gifts. It was like a 4-part series of gifts. And he kind of showed me his whole, like the system was incredible. Like, I mean, he sent me a Cutco knife set. It probably cost him $400.
yeah. And it
Just
says,
because it just says the Madrid family.
yeah, built exclusively for the Madrid family with love or something like that.
And the message in the card, you know,
Handwritten
it said, I'll never forget this. It was right around Thanksgiving. And he goes, once we get through Thanksgiving, I hope you can carve some time out to have a conversation. That's all it said.
Brilliant.
So when we go to when we do things here, everything's based upon what we're writing. It's like a play on words or something. We send them luggage, it's time to move, you know, over to the new company or whatever, you know, like we send them like nice headphones because John has nice headphones, like wooden Bose headphones, right? With like your initials on it. We send headphones to people and like listen to, you know, just your heart or whatever, like, you know, it's something along those lines. But he's super smart and it's so hard to get that past other people that are just so into promotional products. Because I have to deal with that all the time because everybody thinks your company name should be on everything you do when really nobody wants to see your company name on a cutting board that you gave out as a closing gift on a home to that
300
person's
other people.
not going to break out the cutting board that says mortgage
Right. But if it has their initials on it with love, they're going to have that. And every time they use that, they're going to think about you.
So do you guys use him or do you
Well,
guys
we're big into
concept?
So we're big into the client experience, right? So
Okay.
that concept has evolved over the years, but we've not used his specific program, but through his we've learned from
same
him.
with us.
And the only thing we do now that's branded, because the hats are really cool. We do the Richardson hat, and what I've done is taken out the wealth advisor, so it's just Bayntree, and it's a cool hat.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean the tree itself, like, and it's a powerful hat because we spent the money on it, right?
Yeah.
So like that's something we give away because people wear it, and it's something that like they're like just like when we did our a logo out in front, and part of it was bomb. And I would wrap him back and forth. He's like, no, you're not putting the wealth advisors on. He goes, you just want a big ass Bayntree, right? Because you want, what is that? Mm-hmm. And so that's the only thing that we do. But like when a client comes on board, we have this 100-day love program where, you know, at that point they've chosen you. You haven't messed up at all. So you're at like the peak, right? So having this whole flow of what they get and like something like a simple money tree we send them, right? And this happens sometimes when they, you know, become clients or a year later, but the clients love that. It's like a $45 gift, right? But it's like they thought about us and they think about it and they see that's my money tree, right? Or the gift baskets. Back in the day, it used to be, you know, Bayntree this and this and that. Now it's all customized as best we can, right?
Yeah.
The other thing we do on our top rated clients every year, birthdays and anniversaries, the team gets together, a couple of them, and they come up with the original, like a gift. So it's not like everyone gets a different gift, but the gift that we're giving is something that for that year is something that they remember versus sending them, you know, the cake or like his ruling, you know, he talks about don't ever give gifts around Thanksgiving
or Christmas.
Don't ever give around Christmas, right? Think outside the box there of when they're not getting stuff. Things like what we do, we have the relationship with the CPAs, right? So we build and harness and leverage these relationships. Pre-COVID, we do once a quarter, they need CE credits, you know, like continuing ed. So every quarter we host an event at Seasons 52 where we bring in a speaker, they get to eat, they get their hour, they get to see me and Brian, they get to see, oh, there's Bayntree again, right? So again, return on relationships. What's your return? What's your ROI? I don't know. It's cost me $1,200. I get 25 people in there. Well, since we started doing that, the amount of referrals that we get from CPAs, because they know we are not just coming at this way, we are really, we really believe in our craft. But what we do around the tax time, right? So with it being pushed to May 17th, within the next week, we're going to be hand delivering, you know, to like our 15 of these CPAs to their firm, a gift basket, like a spot, like a kind of a relax, it's almost through this type of thing. Yeah. So that, you know, hand delivered, it's like, nobody else does that. Do you hand deliver it, or do you have somebody?
Like our team does. Okay, you have somebody go hand deliver it.
Yeah, but it's from like we're having somebody from Bayntree that hand delivers it.
Right. That's
and that's just like
and it's something like you said. It's like, so it's the messages. You're almost done. Go to the spa. Go to dinner. Here, it's everything. Just relax. Here's something, and then here's something to help you do that.
And you think if they're having to weigh out, okay, I've got two advisors. Yeah. I think they both do a good job, right? Or I know they do. which one are they going to, probably lean towards? Because we built that, we're in harnessing those relationships. So those are the things that like you got to think outside, and it is, spending money can go from that, tenfold in that realm. You can't think of like so many people in our industry and financial planning. They don't think of marketing. They don't spend on marketing. It's like, it's just how it is. Like we look and say, let's spend at least 10% of our revenue on marketing. And I always, because I have that marketing mindset, let's try different things, right? We have with digital, we have to try webinars, we have to try Facebook ads, we have to all of these different things, but it's like, they're not all going to work, but I'm willing to spend the money to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And that's, for the team that works, marketing team on our side, they like that because I'm not just no, it's let's do it. Let's think about it. And three things may fail, but I'd rather fail and know that the fourth one really worked.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to pivot all the time too, right? You might, those gift baskets are great for a while. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to do the gift baskets anymore, right? Yeah. I mean, we go through this whole constant flow of like, everybody got a wine bottle, but when you're doing 100 deals a month, it's like, you're start going, okay, does everybody even drink wine? Like you don't even know these, right? It's like, there's a lot of assumptions and things but the whole client journey and client experience, right, is super important. I think we follow the same sort of like motto. Like it's just, everything's got to be about the people and doing a little bit more than everybody else, because you got to assume they're talking to at least two other people, right? So if you make the experience better for them from the beginning with something that's meaningful and show them that these people are professional and like they're a little bit advanced, and it definitely, this slim chance you're going to lose that deal versus somebody else. So do you guys ever go through dig down into like, say you really wanted Trisha Madrid, would you guys go into like her social media and like look at everything that like, where she go to college and what is she into? Like, what is she like? And be like, we're going to get a specific gift for that person.
If she's a client already?
If you're trying to get her as a client.
As a client. We probably wouldn't go to that detail, but what we will do in that process of, are they going to choose us or not? Or are we going to choose them? Like one of my guys, he's working with somebody that would be a good fit for the firm. He knows this guy likes USC basketball, right? So he went on, and he got the eBay and he got this like autographed USC ball. I forgot even who it was, but like, it cost $50. And so then we send that out with, hey, we're here to want to help you slam dunk your retirement. Something cheesy like that, but it's like, that little thing versus something else. So
that's what I was going. So like for you were maybe recruiting somebody, you would do it more than you would if you were trying to get like a client.
Well, that was for a client, but like, so I guess, in sense, like, but we're not going to like, cyber stalk them and just go,
No, I'm just curious, like on some things, I think it just comes across better. If you know for sure that somebody's a Michigan football guy, get him a jersey.
Yeah. Which is
like, they'd be like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. So
at least have a conversation. They'll have a conversation.
How do you market to realtors? I mean, I would assume that is a decent referral source for you, right?
So with the realtors giving us back business or getting them as clients?
Getting them as a referral partner. So them sending you business or vice versa.
It is one of that's a good question. So when we look at the centers of influences, it is just, I think because it's so fragmented and there's so many out there that it hasn't been one that we've dived into. We focus on the CPAs and the estate planning attorneys, but I think knowing that they're working in a lot of, people in our space.
I think a lender is probably even closer to a better referral source than a realtor.
Yeah, and over the years, what we've seen with the lenders, and maybe it's like we refer it out. It's very rare that we've gotten business in, but that could be something that we, you and I chat through on, because like with the question on your side, so like I close a loan with you. Now I was a great client, but now what do you do? Like I may never use you again, but like what are you guys doing to keep? Like, how do I stay in tune with you?
It's a great question, because that is a problem, I think, for one-off people that don't have a good database. But we're so CRM driven here that every single thing that goes on in our life, if it's not in the CRM, it doesn't exist. So our clients have drips for their entire life until they call us and say, stop calling us.
So if I'm 4 years in, my loan closed in 17, you're still going to be hitting me?
Yeah.
Once a year,
things like,
at
hey,
that
birthday
point.
or
once a year at that point. But if things are going down, like the best case scenario really is if rates are dropping and there's a refinance opportunity, technically we should be going through the database and just looking at every single client, which we do. So we'll create a report, and it will show everybody that may have a 4.5%, and now the rates are at 3.25%, right? So all those people technically should be getting phone calls, and it depends on how busy we are, but I mean, that's what you should be doing, obviously. But I think we do a really good job of keeping past clients, probably better than most people do in the industry, because of how diligent Stewart's pretty much created. He thinks very similar to you do, as you do, with the client journey and making sure that everybody is like the service level is super high, communication's really, really high, and that we don't leave like things. Like we're moving hay all the time, let's just say, and we don't leave like anything unturned. So when rates did drop this year, we were, I mean, unbelievably busy, and it was mostly, I mean, you're gonna have some people that call in and just because they loved us from before, but we did make a lot of outbound calls to try to make sure that people were good. But a lot of people don't remember who they used, right? We think that people that use us, they do. Because they love, like for the most part, our reviews are all really good. Like they're all super happy. Everybody functions as a team here, and if something does come about that did not go well, we're picking up the phone and we're like, hey man, like what exactly happened? Like let us get better. Like we're gonna own it, and we're gonna have a conversation about it.
And so for you then, marketing wise, like when you get a podcast out, are you getting it out to your database too? Hey, Ryan has another show, or is that you segment
it out?
We're,
as well.
We're working on that.
Yeah.
When we decided to relaunch, I started working on a website separately and then it just got so busy that we've stayed with the one we had that was developed 2 years ago, and it doesn't capture data right now, which has been driving me crazy. So we don't have a newsletter or an email sign up. People obviously can subscribe and then they get notifications when something new is published. But that is something that's on.
We've talked about
horizon.
even like just in embedded in an email, right? But yeah, it's happening. We need to do it.
Like you said, this could be a full-time job, like legit. I mean, to actually market it the way that we would like to, we would need more time. And hopefully soon we find a system that is, we get the system in place and then it's easy to execute. But right now we haven't even really developed our system yet. But sending an email out when episodes drop it's almost at the top of my priority list.
Yeah, because you've got that built-in database. It's probably thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
So 11,000.
Yeah. So
even 11, the one
000.
with just Stuart and I, like Stuart was the first guest, right? And that's still one of our best ones we ever did. And I was terrible, but it was so very comfortable with just the two of us. So we were able to just rap and roll, and everybody learned a lot about us and how we, I'm the guy wearing the Blazers 77 Nikes and he's wearing the cowboy boots, and it's like we're so different but we're so the same. So like the idea was like, how did you two get together? That story's there. Even like some of our agents, the people that don't know. So I think that episode alone is really cool, and that should be like sent out to every single client that we've had, or every time we get a new client.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Get to know. Here's Ryan and Stu. This is like where we rolled.
And that's the one thing I've realized over the years, having all these episodes and the blogs and this and that, it's like repurpose that stuff,
totally.
Right?
And you have 90, right?
60. Yeah. So it's, but still like most in our industry, or not our industry, right? But at podcasting, I think the average, like no one lasts, like it's 90% that don't get past 10 shows, something like that.
Yeah.
I know every asshole has a podcast, right? But it's like, are they doing it? Is it an 8-minute show? It's this and that. But like part of what you guys can start doing, if you're not already doing it, but like we pull out little snippets, right? Like a 4-minute, and we'll splice it in. Like inside of every podcast, you could probably have 7 or 8 different things that you can repurpose at different things, like in the newsletter and social, because like you said, attention spans are so limited now. So they want bite size, which obviously you're doing with your IG stories and things like that. But even on YouTube, having like creating a whole playlist of just like 4 minutes of the best stuff.
That's also super time consuming, very expensive to do as well, right? So we did do that, and at the beginning, and my nephew was going to go crazy. But that also was before we had the nice cameras and everything too. But you're 100% right, because if you go to like YouTube and watch a Joe Rogan episode, you can watch 15 different clips from that same episode talking about exactly what you want to hear. And that's it. I think we need to get the likes and subscribers there too, to be there before we start putting a ton of more money into that side of it. But you're right. I mean, that's what it has to be.
Like Gary Vee is big on that, right? I mean, he does one video and then it goes out to like 32 different places and different sizes. Is it a 30-second this? Is it a 7-minute that? And he talks about it all the time. Like record something once and then just deploy it all over the place.
So when you did that, that was all audio, right? So they cut out snippets on that. Have you done a video style like that yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
The audio is easier because we use this thing called Wave, and I'll just like here, I like this from 3 minutes to 4:30, and then we put it there, and then you have that little like frequency. So it looks like
we have a Wave account.
Yeah, so it's like that. Boom, send that out.
It's a good idea too, actually.
Yeah, we have the account already set up.
The audio out, and just throwing little clips.
That way it's a lot easier. You could, and I actually sometimes just do them because it's like literally with the software, it's like, okay, put the JPEG in there, so you've got the design, and then you upload the audio, and then it's really easy to. You don't want it more than like a minute and a half. You want to keep it simple, but then boom, that goes up for one of our Facebook posts instead of the whole thing. But then teases it, hey, listen to more, go to this place, or click here, so you get a call to action. So you also look at marketing interns, so ASU or Grand Canyon, having them out there, because I have a financial advisor or planning intern, but that was one thing where now we're in the office, I can hire more people, is having somebody on the marketing side that can work with our current marketing team and do a lot of the grunt work and the stuff that they know probably back of hand because they grew up this way, right?
That would be Paloma this summer. We need a grunt.
She's having me hire my niece too.
Okay.
Yeah, we need it. We need like database cleanup and what you just said, somebody that we could just not pay a whole lot, but she already knows how to do that stuff.
Look at us. We're just this is like a Crawford team.
Dude, so no, hold on.
Planning
so this is where we were going though when we were talking about doing this in your office before the compliance thing came down and we couldn't do it. So we were going to have the studio there. Well, our idea was kind of like, okay, we can have like a studio other people can use. We can have people like Dylan and Trey who are geniuses at like this sort of stuff, and people would come to use it, and they would, it's like you having, like you said, I don't have somebody like him. Yeah. Well, you're gonna need it.
I know. Hey, can we talk afterwards? I haven't got a deeper voice.
He's freelance. He's got a great job though. So he does this for us as a favor. But Trey will be around. Hopefully Trey will move back from LA. And Trey, so her son, he went to Toronto Film School, and then he came out, and he's like just doing stuff, but he's trying to still figure out what he likes. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go, make movies, and then you realize you're not really gonna make movies. You're gonna make rap videos maybe sometimes, and then you're gonna do like a TV show that you hate, and you're going, okay, well,
corporate video work,
right? Or in corporate video work, and you're like, okay, so I got to figure out an outlet. But I see this, like, I see the excitement of like Trey and Dylan, like going, okay, could we do something big enough where we could get Trey in here full time? I don't know, but could we do? If we had enough people going to the same studio, but we're not, it's like we're not it's not all about podcasting, right? You know what I'm saying? But I think it's cool to kind of have like a one-stop shop though. I mean, that's how I started in a place that had a one-stop shop, and they were very good at it. But it was expensive at the time for us because nobody really understood what we were paying for. Now we're like, okay, it wasn't that expensive. And they did a really good job. Yeah. And so I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities for this. And like you said, there's not a lot of guys doing it you're doing. Who else is doing that? Do you know that we know? Anybody?
That does podcasting?
Yeah.
Nobody. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's one, because it does take work. I mean, and you have to also genuinely like having conversations, like and like asking questions and listening. And, like I hate podcasts or anything where it's like, here's the questions I'm going to ask you. And then it's so like matter of fact. And it's about like, you got to improvise.
It's got to flow better. It's got, and you get better and better. I mean, did you find yourself at the beginning where it was like, it wasn't as easy as you thought it was going to be?
No, it was always pretty easy for me. No, it was one that you learn, definitely having confidence in the material. Like I definitely I should prepare more. I can, fly the hat like, okay, I've got this guest on, I'll spend an hour beforehand.
Yep.
That doesn't really do as much justice, but I can still pull it off. I've got their different bios and things like that. And for me, I work better that way anyway. I just like get into the flow, and I don't love to pre-prepare. I just like to go. And so I know enough things. I'll maybe listen to something that they've been on, enough things that I can then take it and know what direction I want to go. And then you just never know how it's going to go. And so I think that, I don't know if a lot of people maybe doesn't have that confidence. They don't have that confidence to just do that. They need to be super prepared. And to get super prepared means you got to have the time to do that. And that's the one thing that time is finite. And that's where a lot of people look at this and say, well, I don't know. How do I get that team and that team and that team? And what do I do? And what's this? And what's Libsyn? And I don't understand. And so it's just, it's a whole complex world. Yeah. But, and that's why there's not that many that do it and do it well. And
I found that it's all situational, right? So I think a couple of my better ones have been one of each, right? So was a person that we know wrote a book, and I read the book, and I found a ton of stuff in the book that I thought was really cool to talk about. So that flow was really good. I mean, I was asking her questions that she didn't even remember from the book. She's like, wait, did I write that in the book? And I'm like, yeah, you wrote this in the book. And then I have conversations with guys like you that we just basically, you know, Bain or Bayntree. I mean, it's either you're from Cleveland and we're friends, but I know what you do, and I know enough about you and where we wanted to go with this because we had a quick conversation, right?
Yeah, it was like 6 minutes, 6-minute conversation.
Right. And there's other places we could have gone on this too, but we had a conversation. Should we go with those places? And no, we're not going to go those places. But no, I just think that this is a great opportunity, obviously, for people that want to get out and do something else marketing wise. But I mean,
and I like having with the banter back and forth, or all of a sudden we forget that you're there and then you bring it up. It's like having that little bit of that moderator, or
it actually calms my nerves, to be honest with you.
Like, I got a soothing voice too. It's like,
I'm the Jamie of Real Talk.
What's that? Jamie
Rogan.
Oh, was that? I don't even.
That's Rogan's.
Oh,
okay.
I guess I don't pitch.
He only makes $200 million or something like
Jamie.
that.
Yeah, okay.
Is it Jamie?
You got me second guessing.
Is it Jamie?
It is Jamie.
Jamie?
Yeah. Or the Monica to Dak Shepard.
Yeah, there you go. So, what was your favorite episode that you've done of your own?
The two of them. One, it was actually a live one. So my buddy Zach Keeps, big real estate guy out here. Probably owns over 200 homes, and he took a big hit in 07, 08, 09, but just the perseverance of it. Yeah. And I know him real well, and we're good just rapping back and forth. It was interesting. His side, he's taken now, he used to be behind the scenes and just deals with, but now he's put himself out there, right? So he does a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of IG, like he's basically now people are using
the wholesale world or what? Or
mainly residential, right? Okay. So he's moving deals. I mean, but owning couple hundred homes. I mean, he's a big player, right? And so now he's put himself out there. So so that was a fun episode. I did another, and again, it comes back to the live one. I did it with this guy. I didn't really know that well, right? But we did it on what the Grateful Dead can teach you about business, right? So it was like all aimed at that, which was something that I obviously love the Dead and business, and we just kind of tied it all in together. So it shows like that were fun versus I brought this fractional marketing person in, and she works with Series A startups, and it's still, we make it enjoyable, but those are the type of shows that I enjoy.
Is the Grateful Dead guy local?
He is. Brian
we
Moore.
should try and get him. That sounds like a fascinating.
Brian Moore with Anthem. He used to work for Y Scouts. MOHR.
Yeah, they believe it is that guy,
because if you look it up, that shows that was a filmed one.
Yeah. So Brian is Max Hansen that you met that's his ex-business partner. So he brought Brian. He worked at Y Scouts for Max that forever, and then he left Y Scouts to go start Anthem, which we're doing.
Yeah, we're booked for June 1st with him.
Yeah, he actually officiated Max's wedding. And
look at it all coming together.
Brian Moore, great guy.
Get
him on the show.
He's got the whole music background.
He's got a big music background. He's great. So have him bring the guitar.
Do you know what Anthem's about? His new company?
No clue.
Okay, so the whole thing is based upon your team building exercises based upon music.
Oh, so he was starting that like 2 years ago, but it wasn't Anthem, and he was using music and your stories behind it and like your memories.
Yep.
Of like what's the favorite song and what is that's
so he launched it, and it's going really well.
So he's doing it then at the corporate level. So you'll do it with, it's like a team.
We're going to do it with our team.
Okay.
But I'm also doing it. He's also doing it for my networking group as well. But I mean, he's doing really well.
That's great.
It's fascinating. When I did the Zoom call with him, he's had all these guitars behind him. And so he sent me the link, and I created my profile, or I still haven't finished it because it's not easy. So you had to like come up with your the most resonating, like powerful memories you have, and you go through basically like an Apple Music catalog, and you have to select a song, and then you have to write about how that memory is attached to that music and what type of like visceral response do you have when you hear that song, and you have to date it. And like when you go to do it, Ryan, I can actually at you so that you can come in and comment on my memories, because a lot of them are tied to you and the family. It's fascinating. I was so sold after I got off the phone with him. I'm like, we have to do this.
He says like people just like, because it's a homework assignment, right? When you come in and do them, he's done most of them have been Zoom, but he's like people you would not expect, or people that have never cried. You'll see like emotions come out with, and then people, the teams, companies, they all leave. I mean, he did it for West Point one day that he was like, I got a meeting with West Point tomorrow. You see like just people getting just real with like, hey, this song reminds me of when my dad died, or, something like that. And it brings out this fact that now you get to know Dylan, which I didn't know much about Dylan before that. And, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's smart. And it's going to incorporate with movies down the road and all kinds of stuff. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's super smart. I remember when he was coming up with it, he wanted, like, there was a beta on Facebook, a couple of us were taking. So yeah, that's great. Because it is powerful. I mean, you can think back to songs, and like, you can even just like, there's one like that song by James Lade, right? It was like probably when we were 93, 94, but like, I mean, it wasn't a powerful moment, but like, I still remember the car I was in, the crew that I was with, these girls, like what we were doing, where we were going, is like, why does that song, kind of an uneventful night in the scope of everything, but it's still like, it brings me back to where we were leaving. It's just powerful stuff. And I, obviously with things, like, breaking up relationships, new relationships, passing.
Yep.
But yeah, that's smart. We'll probably have to look at that with because I'm sure he would look at it. I mean, team of 10, definitely do that.
Yeah, for sure.
I was thinking he would be good to bring on the podcast, actually. Like, he's a very charismatic,
oh, for sure.
super smart.
Yeah.
Oh no, Matt. I mean,
great
Matt
guy.
said that to me this weekend. He's like, "You got to have Brian on. He's unbelievable." He's like a traveling podcast.
I'll send you the link of our show, which is on YouTube. But he's he was great. Like, I hadn't met him until that time, and we talked back and forth a little bit. But
what's your favorite Grateful Dead song?
I mean, it's so difficult. It's like, it depends on the mood, it depends on the day, it depends on the week. But there's like, kind of your set like that you love. So it's hard to.
I went to the very last show, by the way, in Soldier Field. Soldier Field. First and last. First show, left, came back to Phoenix, and like, we're all going to Grateful Dead shows. And then he died before, because he was coming from Chicago to Phoenix, and that week in between he died.
What'd you think of that show?
It was one of the greatest thing ever. It was.
Did you realize? I mean, at that time, was it the greatest thing ever? Like, did you really you got?
Oh no, I left going like, I was with one of my college roommates. It was another guy, Andy Parnell, who was the CEO of Lane Terror Lever, and I went there to go visit him for the summer. He was doing an internship, and we experienced the moment there. Like, we were at the very top of Soldier Field with our back up against the announcer booth was right up there, and we're just going like, we'd already liked it. Yeah, we were at NAU. We were listening to Grateful Dead a lot, but that was like a whole nother experience that I think that's where I see where people get crazy into it. Yeah, and then so that's the same thing that's happening with Fish, right?
Yeah, Fish still going.
Or EDM festivals. I mean, it's all the same thing, right? As far as like, you just get like
the camaraderie. It's and obviously with those shows. Not like, you're not going to go see the Rolling Stones 7 times because it's this. How many times can you see the exact same set list? Yeah. But with Fish or with Grateful Dead or now Dead and Company, it's like every show something different is going to happen, because we're going to pull from the catalog, and you just don't know what tangent they're going to go
in might happen.
And a lot of what we talk about with the business, with what Grateful Dead can teach about business, it's just the what they created there in the culture, and the mini entrepreneurs that are tied into it, and that whole premise there. They were also one of the first to, really realize that the power is the fans, right? The fans, let's let them tape, let's let them do whatever they want, because then they're going to give you the tape, they're going to give you, and then that was the best marketing they could do, right? By having it open it up. They opened it up. They kind of that, now where we are, everything's open. Back then, that was unheard of for them to do that. People were like, well, you can't do that. You got to sell it. They're like, no, we're going to allow them to tape it, and then they're going to go and
give it to their friend that maybe had never heard.
Right. Like, I got to, wow. Because otherwise you can't, you think of that show 95. It's like, how do you really express that to me, who maybe only heard the live album, right?
Yeah.
So now it's like, no, listen to this tape, and you're like blown away from it.
Yeah.
So same thing, like, I mean, I don't know, Dave Matthews, whatever, but he's still doing it, and
Yeah,
people like,
no.
he just brings good, it's good
Good vibe.
vibe. And I expect, especially with this last year, music is going to be, once that starts getting going, it's going to be the, I think the pinnacle of that big, just bringing socially and music and kind of tying into what Brian's doing, the emotions of it.
Do you, is a Grateful Dead show the best show you've ever been to? Like one, if any concert?
I think for me, Beastie Boys, that kind of, that resonates with me as one of the better shows, just because of the energy, how young I was at the time. I still miss like they were supposed to play at Hollywood Bowl, and they pulled out. This was like maybe 2011, and I'd never been to the Hollywood Bowl, and like that was when he first came out MCA with that he's got throat cancer, right?
Yeah.
So like I was so like that that was killer, so that, and Pearl Jam has been put on some great shows. Turbo and I went 2 years ago to Safeco back to the the mother's den of it all. And like it was like still that show itself just a couple of years ago was like awesome, just to be right there in the whole thing.
It was at downtown Seattle. Is Safeco Field where the Seahawks play?
The Mariners play.
Oh, the Mariners play.
Yeah,
okay.
It was awesome. It was good stuff.
Cool, man. Well, we've gone a little over an hour, but we usually close out by having some rapid fire questions that are pretty fun. Try to keep them quick with the answers, but sometimes they go a little deep.
That's right.
All right, first one. I'm gonna be the one asking them. Name one thing you've learned the hard way.
You just have to persevere and, know that if you've got a goal, what the hell are these questions?
So did you have like a failure that?
Let's say, what the hell are these questions? Look at this guy.
No, these are good. Like, no, this is, so, failure wise, I remember when I started my first company, Rafal Superior Window Cleaning, it was like 16, trying to wash windows, right? So I'd never like had to go out door to door. And like for me, even though I was in my own town, like just getting the door slammed in my face by this person that should know me, right? So like I persevered, and I'm like, okay, I can make this happen. And you just get up and you take rejection, and so ultimately that helped me as I was able to build this little company where I'd wash windows. And I found out years later, my mom told me her friend, I just take my shirt off, and like, I guess my mom's friends were watching me, and I'm like, damn, I missed that boat. But yeah, that was the first help of like, you got to get back up.
Okay. Where's your happy place aside from a concert?
Right now it is I picked up road biking about a year ago, and being out on the road, and sometimes with a group or just myself, and just being able to take everything else that's on my shoulders and the stress, and be able to just focus on where I am at that time, whether I'm the solo ride, I can just think. And then another is like, I love the sauna, right? So the sauna for me is like, I'll go in there, hopefully nobody's in there, and just spend 45 minutes and just get into myself. So those two places
while you're there.
Exactly.
Okay. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Just that I care, empathy, and that I am true to who I am. So, not putting on a front, and just, being open and letting, and not judging people.
Yeah, that's great. What's one thing your mother or father taught you that completely changed your life?
I look at, with my dad, it was just, growing up in Cleveland, and, he was dyslexic growing up. He wasn't supposed to go to trade school, and he figured it out. For him, so work ethic, like just grinding it out, taking care of his family through a lot of things that happened, and just never complaining. So kind of watch that, learn from it. And that's the one thing that's instilled in me. And I think out in this town, like versus others, if you work hard, you don't have to be that talented. You work hard, you're working harder than a lot of people, you're going to just be successful. So that was something that, he was, he didn't really teach me. It was me watching him.
That's the best way to teach your kids, right? Just by demonstrating. All right. One last one. Which author, mentor, or book has been the most influential in your life? aside from Giftology, which we already discussed, but something a little more profound.
That can be it.
It's not like it's a business book, but like Michener, James Michener writes these books that are based upon historical facts, but puts fiction to it. So like for those books, and I've gotten away from reading, which really, is upsetting to me, but like being able to some of those books are like 600-700 pages, be able to learn of all these different civilizations or these different cities, and then tying in a story around it. And it usually embarks upon generations. That was something that you can't learn that stuff in school. So it was helpful to open my mind up and think differently and get away from like all these, business books that you read or the Wall Street Journal. So that was something that, I hope like my daughter will be able to dig into that type of thing. And it's just harder now because our attention span's so much more.
Those are going to be out. Those are going to be movies, and then people will watch them. Clips.
All right, that's all.
That's a great answer.
That's all
though.
I had. Yeah, that was a really
great way to end it, there, buddy.
Great questions.
good answers all the way.
Very good. That was thought provoking. Again, so thanks to Andrew Rafal. Thanks, Trisha. Thanks, Dylan. Everybody, the only way this works, like I said last time, is we need people to like and subscribe. Go to our YouTube page, please. Our Instagram, Real Talk with Ryan Madrid. Facebook. We need reviews, we need likes, we need comments, we need just more action, basically, so we can start getting this going a little bit, and please share with your friends. So,
awesome. Well, hey, thanks for having me on. You guys have been awesome. You're a great host. You guys are great behind the scenes. So looking forward to seeing the future success of Real Talk with Madrid. You guys,
thanks, bro. We appreciate you appreciate you coming on, and we'll see you soon on yours.
Awesome.
Thanks, VIP Mortgage, for letting us have this office.
We don't brand, Rulin. We don't brand.
Bayntree Wealth Advisors. Go check them out.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Real Talk is brought to you by Tsunami. We all know that we should be doing more videos than we are doing. And one of the hesitations for myself is that I don't feel like I do a very good job filming them. I get nervous about the way they're going to look. And I am pretty sure that most people feel the same way as I do. So Tsunami is a product that will allow you to film your own videos. And you can send those videos via the app that you can download it on the App Store. And they will make the video look professional because it is done by a professional editing team. So you want a header, you want a footer, you want to just look better in general. And for the cost, it's unbelievably inexpensive. So if you're looking for video help, this is the best way to go about doing it, especially if you want to film videos on your phone like we all should. So it's Tsunami with an X, and that's it.